Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got a really short knife review slash knife overview to show with you guys. This is the new CJRB Large Pyrite Light. This is a very inexpensive knife listed on CJRB's website for 40 bucks, which means almost certainly even less expensive in other places like Amazon. I'll do my best to link a few different spots where you guys can pick these up. Either way, very inexpensive. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's up to you. Thanks to CJRB for sending this in. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. The reason today's video is going to be so short is because this is exactly the same as the Pyrite Light, except it is a larger one. So here's the smaller one, here's the larger one. This does have an additional safety feature. It's essentially a second plunge lock, which I'm not sure is necessary. In fact, I think I would opt for a version of this without it, but we'll get into that. It is outside of that essentially the same thing, which means there's no reason to go super duper in depth here. Overall length of this version coming in at 8 1/4, perhaps actually about 8.3. Blade length is coming in at 3.75. Your cutting edge is about 3 1/4, a little shy of 3 1/4. How about some size comparisons? Any custom scales you find in this section can be found down in the description under Original Goat and Others, up against the 8010, the 8020.5. How about up against the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3? Sorry, we'll straighten that PM2 out there real quick. You can see here it's about the same size as the PM2. And then finally, let's put it up against the Benchmade Group Tillionaire, in this case, the Ritter Hogue and the Hogue Deca. How's the action on this knife? Excuse me, it's fine. It's exactly what you'd expect. It's very similar to the Pyrite Light. Plunge locks, I don't love them. They're not incredibly reliable, but they are fidgety. As long as you're not like smashing the spine of your knife, you should be okay. I have pointed out that this dual safety or dual plunge lock system is not perfect, and it does not really give you much of an advantage. It's not like adding some crazy amount of strength. It will fail if you beat on the spine, but if you engage this lock while the knife is open and locked out with a standard plunge lock, you are giving it a little bit more surface area for the lock to engage with, just not much. So don't assume that you're now in baton mode or anything like that. You're basically locked and then slightly more locked, and that is essentially all you're getting there. As long as you use this like a pocket knife, you should be okay. But yeah, the pivot action is good. The thumb studs are shaped really nice, so it's very easy to deploy, and it feels good, right? Even with the plunge lock acting as the detent, not bad at all. Certainly not bad for a knife that I assume will be priced at about 30 bucks. Let's do carry profile. Thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. Maybe slightly thicker, not by much. It's also contoured, which is really nice. Length and height up against the PM2 and the Para 3. This is an easy, larger knife to carry. I'd say it's definitely easier to carry in something like the PM2, despite being almost the same length closed up. Not quite. It's definitely larger than the Para 3, not quite as tall, but still lightweight. Speaking of that, let's weigh it. What are we looking at for materials? We have AR RPM 9. We have the injection mold plastic that's been contoured, and then those have been carved out to accept steel liners. So this does not feel delicate or flimsy like the bug out with the cheap feeling scales that are hollowed out, but it's also got some weight to it. So this is not a heavy knife, but it's still 3.9 ounces. Not bad though on ratios, considering what did I say? 3.75 inch, 3.8 inch blade, something like that. Really not bad at all. It's not quite perfectly balanced. It's still within that primary index finger position, but you're still a ways back from the pivot. Not bad. It doesn't feel like a heavy knife. I just missed and hit the locking system, which again, we're going to talk about. But yeah, I think the weight is fine. It really wasn't that bad at all. I mean, it was not bad at all to carry. It was very easy to carry. Let's go and do a hardware check. Get out my tools as per usual. My tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. It's a T8 for the pivot, T8 for the body screws, and then it's going to be T6 for the pocket clip screws. Very easy to take apart and put back together as long as you have the right tools for the job. Should be good to go. Let's go ahead and measure the blade stock thickness here. Then we can move into the meat and potatoes. Blade stock thickness, probably 115 to 120 thousandths. No, actually way thinner. What was I saying? 96,000. Wow, a lot thinner than I thought. Okay. So this is the it's the Pyrite Lite, and it's the large version. The biggest benefit to this knife is the additional amount of ergonomic space, which was already a benefit when you compare, the standard. I don't think I have a standard Pyrite out here anymore. But the Pyrite Lite, which is a slightly larger knife than the standard Pyrite, has an open up forward choil, right? This was already more ergonomically spacious. So this knife is specifically for people who just like larger knives and want the Pyrite, or people whose hands are so big that there's not enough room here. This is a very ergonomically comfortable knife, very open, right? That blade shape is wonderful. Cutting performance is great. Everything that I like about the Pyrite Lite is present here. Blade's nice. The AR RPM 9, you're not going to get any crazy performance out of that. That's essentially, as we've come to know, is a spray form 9CR18 MOV, which is fine. I mean, I'm not going to complain about it at $30 to $40 for sure. Stonewash finish here, you can get this in a couple of different, I think you can get it in black, or you can get it stonewash. You can get it in a few different colors here. Everything about this knife is great, like a larger version of the Pyrite Lite. We all saw that coming. The issue that I have with this is the fact that they had to put this freaking safety thing on there. I honestly think that the potential benefit for this is so minimal that you're gaining essentially nothing. Like, there are so few situations where I'm like, oh boy, I'm really about to get into the thick of it. I better engage the secondary lock. And then the task that I'm doing is now something that I can accomplish specifically because I have engaged that lock. I have found 0 situations to do that, and I would venture to guess that the vast majority of people who carry this knife will find more. I don't believe that offers any significant amount of reinforcement. So I think it's almost pointless. And truthfully, it gets in the way. Sometimes when I'm not looking, I go to disengage the knife, and what I do is I push the secondary lock. So I'm like, why isn't my knife dropping? And I look down and I realize, oh, I pushed the wrong thing, right? So really, it just ends up getting in the way. CJRB, I think it's fine to offer this as an option, but I don't like the idea of this being on every knife. If you're going to do it, do some with and some without. It doesn't need it, right? It's kind of like what I said with the other knife that you guys sent me with this dual locking system. If you feel like the standard lock is not enough and it needs this secondary thing to get people to feel like it's not going to disengage, perhaps the issue is the locking system. Maybe you guys need to do something else, like a button-operated compression lock, which is almost certainly where the majority of budget knife companies are going to be headed in 2025. That's just my prediction. I think that reinforcing the button lock is just you're not really evolving, right? I feel like the button lock thing, like button locks are great. They're very convenient, right? As a light use cutting tool, a button lock is fine. You disengage it, right? You deploy the blade, you use it, you're good to go. But the secondary safety thing, I just feel like is not really, it just feels like nothing, right? It's just getting in the way. Outside of that, the knife works great. Fit and finish is great, right? Pivot action is not the smoothest in the industry, but I mean, geez, at $30 to $40, I'm not going to get super upset about it. It's fine. Ambidextrous mounting positions for the pocket clip, couple of standoffs here. Pocket clip itself is fine, not the most perfect clip in the whole world. A little bit of a bill here, no big deal. It's not super pinchy, nice retention, and it's nice and deep carry. We have a stop pin located in its traditional spot right here. Blade play up, down, left to right. And we have maybe slight, not really lock stick, but lock crunch, which will almost certainly go away. No pivot lash, smooth enough, right? I can feel those bearings like kind of rolling around some uneven surfaces, but those will wear in over time. Decent click into the close position, considering the plunge lock itself is acting as the detent. Usually you just get kind of a lump or a mush. This might be slightly off center to the right. I think we can kind of mush it back to center. It looks good enough to me. Maybe minimal movement right here, not much. It's just that's the nature of a plunge lock, right? Is this worth picking up? If your hands don't fit on the Pyrite Lite, yeah, like if you absolutely have to have it, it's just like that secondary locking thing is just annoying. And truthfully, you'll run into it every now and then, but it's not going to be like crippling you. It's not going to be like slowing you down in the middle of the day and you're not able to get your tasks done or your chores done because of that secondary locking system. It's mildly irritating is what it is. But overall, this is a good knife and it's a good option for people who want the Pyrite Lite in XL form. I don't think this is a spectacular thing. I don't think it's like a best of 2024 thing, but it is a cheap knife that I like, and it is still a very, very good deal and a very well-made knife at $30. So it's going to go on my cheap knives I like playlist, and that'll be pretty much it. I still think that standard Pyrite Lite is a better knife all the way around. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.